Imagine flying a slow-moving reconnaissance plane deep in enemy territory, dodging bullets and delivering critical intelligence, all while under constant threat of being shot down. Now picture yourself outmaneuvering one of the deadliest jets of the Vietnam War in that very plane. This is the extraordinary story of Ken Lee, a U.S. Army pilot, and his legendary encounter with a Soviet-built MiG-17 fighter while flying an OV-1 Mohawk. Designed as a rugged reconnaissance aircraft, the Mohawk was never intended to be a combat jet, let alone take on one of the fastest, most lethal interceptors of its time. Yet, against all odds, Lee managed to engage the MiG in a high-stakes aerial duel that stunned both sides. How did this relatively humble aircraft and its fearless pilot survive such a dangerous encounter? Join us as we delve into the history of the OV-1 Mohawk and its incredible Vietnam War legacy. The OV-1 Mohawk was a unique aircraft designed for observation and reconnaissance during the Cold War. Developed by Grumman, it made its first flight in 1959, serving primarily in the U.S. Army and some allied nations. Unlike sleek jet fighters, the Mohawk was a twin-turboprop aircraft built for rugged, low-altitude flying rather than speed or combat. Its bulky design, with short wings and a high tail, made it look more like a civilian bush plane than a military craft. However, it was packed with advanced equipment for its time, including infrared cameras, side-looking airborne radar (SLAR), and electronic surveillance systems. These features allowed the Mohawk to gather critical intelligence on the battlefield and provide real-time data to ground forces. The Mohawk was an odd hybrid in the military aviation world. Its primary mission was tactical reconnaissance, typically used to monitor enemy troop movements, artillery positions, and supply lines. It flew low and slow, often deep behind enemy lines, making it vulnerable to both ground fire and enemy aircraft. Despite these risks, its heavy armor protection and ability to operate in harsh environments made it invaluable. The Mohawk could take off from short, unpaved runways, and its relatively quiet engines allowed it to slip under enemy radar undetected. Though not built for combat, the OV-1 was armed with weapons, usually including machine guns and rocket pods, for self-defense and occasional close air support. However, no one expected it to go head-to-head with enemy fighters, particularly advanced Soviet-designed jets like the MiG-17. Yet, during the Vietnam War, it found itself in exactly that position. As the conflict escalated, the Mohawk's role became even more critical, and its versatility was put to the test. In one of the most unusual aerial confrontations of the war, a Mohawk pilot named Ken Lee would take this workhorse of a plane into combat against a far superior enemy jet. The story of Ken Lee's encounter with the MiG-17 is one of the most extraordinary dogfights in military history. It all happened on June 5, 1968, during a reconnaissance mission over Vietnam. Captain Ken Lee was flying his OV-1 Mohawk in the dense, hostile airspace, performing his usual task of spotting enemy movements. What he didn't expect was to come face-to-face with the Soviet-built MiG-17, one of the premier fighter jets used by the North Vietnamese Air Force at the time. The MiG-17 was everything the Mohawk wasn't: fast, agile, and designed for air-to-air combat. The MiG's top speed was nearly 700 miles per hour, while the Mohawk barely managed 300 miles per hour. In an air-to-air confrontation, the odds were overwhelmingly in favor of the MiG. When the MiG-17 closed in, Lee had to act fast. His reconnaissance mission instantly turned into a fight for survival. As the MiG pilot attempted to engage, Lee used the Mohawk's low-level flying capabilities to his advantage. The OV-1's tough construction allowed it to fly dangerously close to the ground, where the MiG had difficulty maneuvering at such low speeds and altitudes. Lee hugged the terrain, weaving in and out of valleys and hillsides, making it nearly impossible for the MiG to get a clear shot. Despite the superior firepower and speed of the enemy, Lee kept his cool. In an unexpected turn, Lee's evasive tactics forced the MiG-17 into a tight corner. Struggling to maintain its position, the MiG overshot Lee's plane. Seizing the moment, Lee switched from evasion to attack. He fired a salvo of rockets at the MiG, catching the enemy aircraft by surprise. Though not a conventional dogfighter, the Mohawk's rockets hit their mark, causing the MiG to break off its attack and eventually retreat. Against all odds, Ken Lee had successfully outmaneuvered one of the deadliest jets of the time, cementing his place in aviation lore. The OV-1 Mohawk was never designed to engage in air-to-air combat, let alone take on a high-speed MiG fighter jet. Yet, Ken Lee's encounter with the MiG-17 in Vietnam showed just how versatile and surprising the craft could be in the hands of a skilled pilot. This incident shocked military strategists and pilots alike, who had always considered the Mohawk as purely a reconnaissance aircraft. So, how did this slow-moving, propeller-driven plane manage to surprise everyone? First, the Mohawk's rugged design allowed it to withstand enemy fire and operate in environments that would be dangerous for faster, more fragile jets. Built for low-altitude missions, it was well-armored and able to absorb damage that would down other planes. This durability gave pilots like Lee confidence to push the aircraft beyond its intended limits when necessary. Second, its ability to fly low and slow, which was seen as a disadvantage in air-to-air combat, actually turned into an asset during Lee's engagement with the MiG. The MiG-17 was designed for high-speed dogfights at medium and high altitudes. When forced to engage at low altitudes, where it had to maneuver carefully to avoid the ground, the MiG lost its usual advantage. Lee exploited this by flying the Mohawk close to the ground, a tactic that made it difficult for the MiG to lock onto him. Moreover, the Mohawk's armament, typically intended for ground targets, proved effective in this rare aerial encounter. Armed with 2.75-inch rockets and machine guns, the Mohawk had enough firepower to damage or deter enemy aircraft. In the heat of the moment, Lee used these weapons creatively, turning his slow-moving aircraft into a dangerous adversary for the much faster MiG. Finally, this story underscores the importance of the pilot's skill and quick thinking. Lee's ability to adapt, combined with his knowledge of the Mohawk's strengths and weaknesses, allowed him to outmaneuver a superior aircraft. This event redefined what people thought was possible with the OV-1 Mohawk, proving that even the most unlikely of planes could rise to the occasion in combat. The development of the OV-1 Mohawk began in the late 1950s, as the U.S. Army sought an aircraft capable of providing real-time battlefield intelligence. During the Cold War, reconnaissance was crucial for monitoring enemy movements and gathering data for military operations. Grumman Aircraft Engineering Corporation, known for building durable and rugged planes, was awarded the contract to design a twin-engine turboprop aircraft that could operate in rough conditions, survive in hostile environments, and deliver reconnaissance with advanced technology. Initially, the Army and the Marines had differing opinions on the Mohawk's mission. The Army wanted a reconnaissance plane that could perform surveillance, electronic warfare, and even light ground attack missions, while the Marines pushed for a more combat-capable design. Eventually, a compromise was reached, and the OV-1 Mohawk emerged as a multi-role aircraft focused on observation, surveillance, and targeting support. The OV designation stands for Observation Vehicle, but its capabilities went beyond just observation. One of the Mohawk's key features was its SLAR, which allowed it to detect ground targets even in poor visibility, such as at night or in bad weather. This radar system, along with other electronic warfare and infrared equipment, made it one of the most advanced reconnaissance aircraft of its time. The plane's turboprop engines were another unique feature, allowing it to fly slowly at low altitudes, which made it ideal for gathering detailed intelligence. It could take off from short, rough airstrips, making it highly versatile in a variety of combat zones. The Mohawk's development was not without controversy. It was one of the few fixed-wing aircraft operated solely by the U.S. Army, leading to tension with the U.S. Air Force, which traditionally controlled most military aviation. Despite these inter-service rivalries, the OV-1 Mohawk became an invaluable asset during the Vietnam War, where its ability to perform reconnaissance, electronic surveillance, and limited close air support proved essential for U.S. ground forces. The OV-1 Mohawk's deployment in Vietnam marked the aircraft's most significant contribution to U.S. military operations. Its primary role in the conflict was reconnaissance and battlefield surveillance, essential in the challenging environment of Vietnam, where dense jungles and rugged terrain often masked enemy movements. From the moment it arrived in Southeast Asia, the Mohawk proved itself as a valuable asset in the U.S. Army's intelligence gathering efforts, performing missions that ranged from locating Viet Cong hideouts to tracking supply routes along the Ho Chi Minh Trail. One of the Mohawk's greatest advantages in Vietnam was its ability to operate in harsh, low-visibility conditions. Equipped with infrared sensors and side-looking airborne radar, SLAR, the Mohawk could see through jungle canopies, detect enemy troop concentrations, and identify supply convoys moving under cover of darkness. This capability was critical in an environment where ground forces often struggled to locate the enemy, who used the dense landscape to their advantage. The Mohawk's presence in the skies provided U.S. commanders with up-to-date intelligence, enabling more precise planning for airstrikes and ground assaults. In addition to reconnaissance, the OV-1 Mohawk was also used for artillery spotting and directing airstrikes. Pilots would often fly low over enemy positions, marking targets for artillery or guiding fighter jets to precise locations. This role placed the Mohawk in dangerous situations, as it operated at low altitudes where it was vulnerable to both ground fire and surface-to-air missiles. Despite these risks, the aircraft's armored cockpit and ability to fly at low speeds made it resilient against many threats. Though some were lost in combat, the Mohawk's versatility also extended to psychological operations. The aircraft would drop propaganda leaflets over enemy positions or use loudspeakers to broadcast messages to the Viet Cong, encouraging them to surrender. This multi-role capability made it a valuable tool in the broader counterinsurgency strategy. However, it wasn't without its challenges. The Mohawk's presence in the war zone often brought it into conflict with the U.S. Air Force, which had jurisdiction over most fixed-wing aircraft. The Army's use of the OV-1 for close air support missions sometimes blurred the line between reconnaissance and combat roles, sparking debate over the division of responsibilities between the Army and the Air Force. Overall, the OV-1 Mohawk's contributions in Vietnam were significant. Its ability to provide crucial real-time intelligence, along with its rugged design, made it an indispensable tool in a conflict where information often determined the outcome of battles. Ken Lee's remarkable encounter with the MiG-17 over Vietnam left a lasting impression on both his military peers and aviation historians. The fact that a slow-moving OV-1 Mohawk could survive, much less outmaneuver, one of the most formidable fighter jets of the time was nothing short of incredible. Though the engagement did not result in the destruction of the MiG, Lee's skillful flying and tactical acumen allowed him to evade and even strike the enemy jet, forcing it to retreat. Following the incident, Lee was celebrated for his bravery and ingenuity, receiving accolades from his unit and superiors. The encounter highlighted the importance of adaptability in combat and underscored the surprising potential of the OV-1 Mohawk in unforeseen situations. While the Mohawk was never meant to be a fighter, this incident solidified its reputation as an aircraft that could hold its own in dangerous, high-stakes environments. The OV-1 Mohawk left a lasting legacy in the world of military aviation. As a rugged, versatile aircraft, it served for more than 3 decades, from the early 1960s through the 1990s. Its primary mission, reconnaissance and battlefield surveillance, proved essential in numerous conflicts, including the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, and various Cold War operations. Its unique blend of advanced radar, infrared sensors, and electronic surveillance systems made it one of the most capable intelligence-gathering platforms of its time. Despite its relatively unglamorous appearance, the Mohawk gained a loyal following among the pilots and crews who flew it. Its ability to operate in harsh conditions, combined with its low-altitude performance, made it invaluable in diverse theaters of war. Over time, the aircraft evolved with technological advancements, incorporating more sophisticated surveillance equipment to keep pace with modern warfare's demands. The Mohawk's legacy also extends beyond its military service. Many of the tactics and technologies pioneered by the OV-1, particularly in the fields of electronic surveillance and airborne reconnaissance, laid the groundwork for modern unmanned aerial vehicles. Its use of SLAR and infrared systems influenced the development of contemporary drones and surveillance platforms, which continue to play critical roles in today's military operations. Although retired from active service, the OV-1 Mohawk remains a symbol of innovation and resilience. A number of Mohawks have been preserved in museums and private collections, serving as a reminder of the critical role this aircraft played in shaping modern reconnaissance and electronic warfare capabilities. Its storied history, including Ken Lee's legendary engagement with the MiG-17, ensures that the Mohawk will be remembered as more than just a reconnaissance plane. It was a true military workhorse. The OV-1 Mohawk story is one of innovation, bravery, and resilience, proving that even the most unexpected aircraft can make history. If you found this tale of the Mohawk and Ken Lee's thrilling MiG encounter fascinating, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories from aviation history. Leave a comment below on what you think about the Mohawk's legacy, and stay tuned for more deep dives into the unsung heroes of military aviation.